Dodo Joe's Fantasy Football Podcast. Tonight, we're going to get you all the way ready for your fantasy football draft. So, we're going to start out. Kate, what are some of your favorite draft tips for all the new players out there or veteran players who want to get better?
For me, if we're talking strictly draft, my biggest bit of advice for everybody is you can't go in necessarily with a script. Especially you can't account for what other idiots in your league are going to do because you never know. I have, rankings, and that's about it. I only even do that because I want to not forget somebody on accident, because I was pretty notorious in the past for doing that. So I usually just have a list. If you use the Sleeper app, that one's great because it has that all for you. You don't necessarily have to have a list or anything to see who's there, who's available. But for me, my biggest thing is I let the draft come to me. Whatever value is going to fall, I make sure I'm there and ready to grab it. I like we said before, I usually try to stack skill position players in the beginning. I've got a hard rule of not taking a quarterback probably, I don't know, before the 5th, 6th, be the absolute earliest I would take one, but really I look towards the mid rounds for a quarterback, because I'm trying to build those skill position players up. Sometimes that fucks me because 2 years ago I took Cam Newton way late and that fucked me. But last year it paid off because I took Matt Stafford way late. So that's kind of a juggling game there, but chances are people are going to run and draft him before you are. So let that other value fall in your pocket.
Real quick, Caden, you'll have to let me know. I have a nice new mic that my fiance very graciously got me. If I don't come through, let me know because I'm trying to see what's best. If I start echoing real bad, just shout at me real quick while I learn.
Yeah, I can see you pretty good.
So, one of my favorite draft tips to think about, I know you kind of talked about don't go in with steadfast, I'm gonna go RB, wide receiver, whatever. One of mine is that I want to leave my first 4 rounds with my key positions filled. Now, in one quarterback league, that's only running back. But if you play in a super flex, that's running back and quarterback. Or you need to have a plan to fill that on the back end, because those positions tend to go fast in those drafts. And you might think you're okay without a running back or a quarterback or 2 of them, 3 of them that play at a high level. But you get in the season, and that really starts to matter a lot. And I think that's one a lot of people overlook.
And I think if you skip out on certain positions too early, you start the season hoping for a miracle. And you can't really do that because there's only so many Cooper Kupp's that are going to come along in a given season. A year ago, if you would have skipped wide receiver and taken, essentially at the time the Rams slot guy, then it probably paid off for you. But chances are more than likely that's not going to happen. So yeah, you need to cover your bases for sure. Just for me, I kind of prioritize, obviously in Superflex, getting a quarterback real early. And then I kind of gamble with my second one. And that's just things that I do. And it just depends because I've seen Superflex leagues, like Scott Fishbowl. I got Kyler in the first round, and I was somehow able to grab Trevor Lawrence in the 8th, 7th, or 8th. And that shouldn't have happened because I did another super flex draft, Polly's Playoff, where, we're talking every starting quarterback in the league pretty much was gone by the end of mid-4th. So it just varies. You kind of got to let it come to you. Every time I didn't take a quarterback in Scott Fishbowl, I was like, this is going to be the round. This is where it's going to get me, but it didn't end up happening that way. So it is weird. Different scenarios provide you different results.
Do you have any drunk drafting tips?
Oh, fuck. Just don't. Oh, man, there's a lot of drafts where I've just been completely hammered. here's the deal: get your starting lineup before you go over the edge, because I've seen it all, really, right? Like, Wayne, your stepdad, he's perfect for buying shots and shit, and then all of a sudden you wake up in a strange place and you don't know who's on your roster. So avoid those people, at least until you get set up, halfway to where you can survive and it not really matter who you pick. But yeah, definitely proceed with caution and alcohol when it comes, especially to like big money drafts like we're doing on Saturday. Because a lot of those, hell, last year, a story for the listeners. We went and drafted at a bar. I drank there all day. We went to my buddies afterwards. I blacked out. My soon-to-be fiance was completely willing to come to Wichita, pick me up. I live about 30 minutes away from Wichita. I took a fucking $80 Uber home. Not really sure why I did that. Thankfully, the draft had concluded at this point. Yeah, and I had an $80 Uber. And I don't remember much of it, but I'm sure it was a pretty awkward ride for that guy.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a thing that happened. That was hilarious.
True story.
So, mine, yeah, just being an adult, like, if you can handle it, like, personally, I'd have no issues. At the very least, it's an equalizer with the other league mates, but, like, I might reach for a guy, but they're going to be good players at least. Like, I could see Drunk Need being like, oh, Alan Lazard in the 5th. That's okay. But, like, only if Allen Robinson's gone. Like, I'm not stupid. But if you're someone who hasn't played a lot, don't get to the draft party and just start getting hammered.
Don't pre-drink.
You're going to be the joke of the league.
You're going to be the guy who takes the Denver defense in the 3rd round. That guy was completely sober, I think.
So, news or noise? Moving right on along. First news or noise. Steelers running back Najee Harris told reporters that he had a sprained Lisfranc in training camp. News or noise that Najee has a sprained Lisfranc already?
I mean, I don't doubt it, but I don't think it's something really that big of a deal. I think he'll be just fine week 1. I think it's surprising to hear already, given that they don't use starting running backs a whole lot in preseason, so that must have been a training camp injury. But I think he'll be just fine. If you liked him before, you should still like him now.
Yeah, I haven't. It's not like major news, but I definitely do think it is news just because those Lisfranc things are usually a wear and tear injury. And, I mean, I've been very well documented about Najee Harris. But
going to the retirement home.
I mean, if it was a torn Lisfranc like what ETN had, I'd probably be a lot more worried. But just a sprain, I mean, he could come back and never have that issue again. Next up, news or noise that Sean McVay said that Cam Akers wasn't able to go full speed in a workout quite yet. He had a soft tissue injury in camp.
Kind of chalking up to me like that guy is just not very durable. And for me, I already didn't care much for him, and that for me makes it even less. I mean, I'm getting more on the Darrell Henderson boat as we speak.
Yeah, I've been captain of that boat all summer, or at least for a substantial amount of time now. I just think Cam Akers is a walking injury risk coming off that Achilles tear. It's like what we see time again. And Sean McVay is going to want to run the ball. And so I just don't know if Akers is going to be able to withstand that. And Darrell Henderson has his own injury questions, but they're not as bad as Akers. ESPN's John Kime writes that the expectation is that tight end Logan Thomas, who tore his ACL, will return for week 2 at the latest. News or noise?
That's news for me. Here's the deal. He's a value play, DFS. He's one of those sneaky couple tutties guys. You know, he's not going to burn you for 125 yards or anything. But he's one of those guys that you could potentially grab and play off the waiver wire in most leagues. I don't hate him. I don't love him. And that's kind of where I'm at with him. But he is a value play. So him suiting up, you know, Carson Wentz can't throw it downfield. So kind of like that for a sneaky fantasy play, you know, especially in DFS.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think it's news. Logan Thomas being back is a huge deal. And he's a guy that's going super, super, super late in drafts. Honestly, I dropped the ball. I didn't even know that he was a thing this year. So I thought he was just hurt, and that was that. So, yeah, that's a pretty big deal. And he can definitely hold some sneaky fantasy value in that offense, even with Carson Wentz at quarterback. All right.
Right. Yeah.
Fourth up, last one. KJ Hamler caught 3 of 5 targets for 18 yards in the Broncos preseason finale against the Vikings. News or noise?
Man, I'm going to go ahead.
KJ Hamler is going to be a contributor on this offense.
Oh, yeah. Here's my I think KJ Hamler is going to be my guy this year that I call Mr. Fuck Around and Find Out. Because he is going the price you're paying for KJ Hamler, you could get like a nice box of Cracker Jacks for that. And I think he is going to implode at some point. You know, you called him, what do you call him, Denver Tyler Lockett or something?
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I'm grabbing that dude in as many formats as I can because it's like throwing a dart at a big target. You know, for some reason, I mean, it's all Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Albert O, even though I don't really understand that one. No one's talking about Hamler, and I like Hamler. He's that perfect little speedy small fucker to put in the slot. Russell Wilson loves it. I'm in, dude.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of KJ Hamler this year. The guy is, sorry, we have some technical difficulties, but we're not going to stop. KJ Hamler is a guy that you can essentially get for free right now. And I'll take free Russell Wilson deep threats all day long. So, yeah, I'm a guy that, like, if I can get KJ Hamler for cheap or little to nothing, like, I'm going to do that each time because he's a good player.
Oh, yeah.
And he has the ability. Like, you know, he's had injury issues. There's been some stuff going on. However, he's still a good player.
Here's a question I got for you, though. Out of the other two, do you take Jerry Jeudy or do you take Cortland Sutton?
I take Cortland Sutton.
Who is Russell Wilson having breakfast with? That's the real question.
Who's Russell Wilson having breakfast with? Probably Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton's going to be like DK Metcalf, but a little bit better. Well, not better, but he's a veteran, and he plays like one. DK Metcalf and Russell Wilson had some weird friction going on, dude. I don't really know what that was all about. But I definitely do think that I think that Cortland Sutton's the guy to have. And we'll actually talk about him later. He's on our little game that we're debuting. So we'll talk about him. So moving on. Well, real quick, give me one surprise team for the NFL season this year.
Like going to surprises in, like, where they're going to end or what?
Take it where you want it.
I think the Bengals missed the playoffs.
You think the Bengals missed the playoffs?
I do. I think the Ravens are better, and I think the Steelers put up a fight. That's just me.
Interesting. Yeah, mine would probably be that the Vikings have a good shot at winning their division. I really think that there's a legit chance for them to make some noise in a division that outside of the Packers, who are having at least a little bit of issues, they have a real chance to make some noise. So I'm in on the Vikings. I think they would be like my potential surprise team.
I'm not going to say this is going to happen, but I would like to see the Lions sneak into the playoffs. I would like to see.
Dan Campbell.
Dude, I've been watching some Dan Campbell. Dude, I fucking love that guy. I mean, he is undefeated on the mic. We'll just say that. Weird fucking guy, but I love to listen to him talk. I don't even play football, and that guy makes me want to run through a brick wall.
Yeah, I love Dan Campbell. He's one of my favorite coaches in the NFL. It's not really particularly close. All right, moving on. We got our underdog ADP game. So we did this last week. Too high, too low, just right. First off, I got Miles Sanders at RB30 going ADP 93, so in the 8th round. So Miles Sanders, 30th running back off the board in the 8th round. Too high, too low, just right.
I'm going to go too high. The fantasy nerds will come at me because of his efficiency stats, and I think he averages like 5, close to 6 yards a carry. I don't give a shit. I think they're bringing in Kenneth Gainwell to do more. I've even heard rumblings of them trading for Kareem Hunt, Josh Jacobs. I've heard all that, which may or may not happen, doesn't really matter. It tells more of a story of anything is they're not confident in what they have. But for me, too high. What do you think?
I have too high as well. I think that Kenneth Gainwell is the back to have, and since you can get him a couple rounds later, like that's just entirely too high for me.
Yeah.
Next up, I just Miles Sanders. He's good in spot. He's like Antonio Gibson. Like him and Antonio Gibson are super similar. They can make plays, but they're not consistent enough where you really want to be giving them like a huge workload. Second, Damian Harris going RB34, so the 34th running back off the board, pick 99, so also in the 8th round. I'll start here. I think that's too low. I think the Damian Harris hate's gone a little too far. He's still going to be the early down back. And honestly, I think he's the back that Belichick trusts the most. Stevenson will have his time, but it's not like he's going to be a workhorse, and Belichick trusts his veterans. So I think that Damian Harris is still going to be a low-end RB2, high-end RB3, not a guy I'd want to rely on, but he'll be a flex player.
For me, I almost go too high on that one. Here's my problem with Damian Harris. First of all, extremely touchdown dependent. What do you have, like 18 of the motherfuckers last year?
Yes.
Being something high in that range. I mean, he smells a little like James Conner to me.
Yes.
I mean, the smell is real similar. I don't hate taking Damian Harris. I just don't want to put myself in a position where I have to. I kind of favor Ramondre just a little bit more. And the reason being is I think he's going to get a lot of that pass game work because we know Damian Harris can't catch shit. Yeah, I hate relying on guys that are touchdown dependent. It's kind of scary to me. He's kind of in that James Conner boat where I'll take him if the value is right for me, given where, and it all depends on where you're at. If the draft comes to you, you take a couple receivers, you're real weak at that point at running back. Maybe you have to. I would just go on the boat of I'd rather not.
Yeah, and I agree with that. There's other running backs. Like if it's all the way that late, I'm looking at like a James Cook. I'm not gonna get Damian Harris. Just the upside's not there. Cortland Sutton, 16th wide receiver off the board at pick 34, so late 3rd round. Too high, too low, just right for Cortland Sutton.
Oh man, that's kind of high. I like Cortland Sutton, right? I've been on the Cortland Sutton bandwagon for a long time now. But holy shit, that's getting a little out of control. It'd be hard. I mean, ultimately, there's going to be someone who likes him more than I do to take him at that point. So I'd probably say just a tad too high.
Yeah, I'd say a little too high. I would contemplate him there, but I like Allen Robinson more. I like Hollywood Brown more. Brandon Cooks and Cortland Sutton are about in the same category to me. So, like, wide receiver 18, 19, 20, I'm thinking about it more. But up at 16, that's a little high. I don't think I'm taking Cortland Sutton in the 3rd round. So, yeah, if he was 4th, 5th round, I agree. 3rd's a little high. Kadarius Toney, wide receiver 42, going at pick 85, so the 8th round. I think that is just right for Kadarius Toney. I think there's some upside to be tapped. I think that Brian DeBall is going to use him really well. And Daniel Jones does like to hit his yak guys. It's just something that we've seen like Sterling Shepard do a lot. Tony had a couple games last year where he was the target hog. Daniel Jones will target his quick receivers who are going to go and make yards happen after the catch. He's at least able to do that. So I think that getting Tony at 42 is pretty fair, and he might return some really good value. He won't be a wide receiver 1, but like high-end wide receiver 3, I could see that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go probably just right on him too. I mean, he's got elite talent. Last year we saw flashes of that. I just think obviously the Joe Judge system was bad. I think you bring in Brian DeBall and that gets better. The question is going to be Daniel Jones, as it always was. But to me, he's got like a Tyreek Hill type of skill set, and someone just needs to unlock that. So that's the biggest thing for me. 8th round, I think you could do a hell of a lot worse.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. I think that Kadarius Toney is a perfectly fine 8th round pick. Pick 5 or fifth player, Kyle Pitts going. He's the 3rd tight end off the board, going at pick 29. So again, 3rd round. Too high, too low, just right.
Fuck, man. Tight end in the 3rd round. Here's the deal with Kyle Pitts. I fucking love Kyle Pitts. Ultimately, I think he's going to be the best. I think he's going to be the guy that we take first next year. But 3rd round, I mean, that's really high for me, given that we don't have a good sample size of Kyle Pitts. I mean, I love the talent, love the player, love the ability. Don't love the offense. I'm a little bit higher on Mariota than everybody else in the world, but that's not enough to justify a 3rd round pick for me. Going a little too high on that one. And it also, I think that there is a ton of, we've talked about the tight ends at dead zone. I don't think that's really a thing anymore. I think there's a ton of value you can get later on. I would rather go another route, even though like I said, love Kyle Pitts, love the player, and I think this is probably the cheapest you'll get him for quite some time.
I agree with that, but I have him as way too high. Marcus Mariota is just not going to be able to have him have Pitts produce at a high level. They're not going to throw a lot of touchdowns. They're not going to be very good. I love Kyle Pitts. He's really a guy that I won't because you have him, but in a normal league, I would try to buy Kyle Pitts after this season because if he puts in another bad year, you might be able to get him like a little cheaper than right now, and that's a good buy because that guy's going to blow up. Like once he has a good quarterback, watch out. He's going to be.
And that could be Desmond Ridder, and that could be next year.
He's going to be better than Kelsey. Like what Kelsey's doing right now, Kyle Pitts is going to blow that out of the fucking water.
Because you could take Kyle Pitts and just call him a wide receiver, and he would be a very good wide receiver. You could line him up out wide. Now, if you line Kelsey up out wide all the time, I don't think it would go well more times than not. I think Kelsey really, his meat and potatoes is getting in the middle doing weird shit. I do, but I think Kyle Pitts is going to be very expensive for a long time, so it might be something that I just need to adapt to. I'll just tell you right now, I'm not a Travis Kelce in the 1st round guy. I've never seen those teams end up doing well, but I would fuck around with Mark Andrews in the 3rd, and that's probably about it.
I agree. I would consider Mark Andrews in the 3rd as well, but
yeah,
it'd be hard not to. Like Njoku and Ingram late every time.
I think someone's going to be more on that than me, and I don't think there's a chance in hell Andrews is ever going to last till the end of the 3rd round type of thing.
Yeah. All right. Next segment, the meat and potatoes of this show. We were originally gonna go over like some draft values, real standard procedure, and I axed that. We weren't doing that normal shit. We're doing a game, draft, hold, fade. So we'll give 3 players. You're gonna pick like it's like fuck, marry, kill, but draft, hold, fade. Like the draft is the good one, the hold is like the medium one, and then the fade is the one you're just like not taking at all. And we're gonna open ADP, and we're gonna hit a whole bunch of players, and we're gonna get you guys ready to draft. So first off, draft, hold, fade. I have Josh Allen going as the first quarterback off the board at pick 32. Lamar Jackson, the third quarterback off the board at pick 47, so late fourth, or Russell Wilson, the 9th quarterback off the board at pick 80, so the 7th round. Let you go first.
For me, I'm gonna have to go with draft Jackson. To me, I think he is. I love his situation this year. He's going into he could potentially be a tag candidate or a free agent after this year. I'm well documented for saying that I love a guy playing for a contract because I've just seen it so many times. Those guys fucking ball out. I'm going to go hold on Allen just because, he's been the quarterback one. We know he has that capability. Here's my thing. We're drafting him as if the ball is still there. We don't really know how that new, sometimes a team loses a coordinator and everything goes to shit. That potential is there for Allen. Not saying it's going to happen, but for me, it's enough to make me not draft him at his ceiling. Like I said, love Josh Allen, but I'm going to fade Russell Wilson, and here's why. I think the hype is just built a little too much. He goes to Denver. Nathaniel Hackett's there. That's great. But how many people has Aaron Rodgers made look better than they really are? Right? We saw it year after year with him, Tom Brady. Those kind of guys are just better than good, right? And they kick out all these coordinators to be head coaches. We don't know how that's going to work out. Sure, he's got better team around him, pretty much top to bottom, but I think the hype is just built too much for me. So definitely, if I'm going to pick one out of the bunch, I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I'm in agreement on that. So I'd have draft Lamar Jackson in a contract year. If I'm in the 4th round, like every underdog draft I've been in, I'm taking him automatic. He's an auto pick because he's going to be so good this year. And people forget last year he was the quarterback 7, and he played terribly. So what's he going to do when he plays well and he's healthy? Lamar's an amazing, amazing talent, and he's about to get paid, and he wants to get paid. So Lamar's going to be ridiculous.
They offered him more than Kyler, and apparently that wasn't enough. So I'm thinking
he's gonna go stupid this year.
Yeah, he's his own agent too, by the way. So
and his negotiating is on the field.
I like that shit, man. Yeah, I'd love to have some Jackson. I don't think I have any Jackson shares, but fuck, I really wish I did.
Because you're drafting after me in this draft, I don't care. Saturday, if he comes to me, I'm grabbing him. I don't give a shit.
In the 1st round?
Yeah, in the 1st round. In the 4th round, it would be the 4th round. So not really the first.
Well, unless someone picks him as a keeper.
See, I don't know. I don't know who has him. It depends. They'd have to be intelligent. I'd keep Lamar Jackson in a 1-quarterback league.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Hold, I have Russell Wilson. I'm actually really high on Russell Wilson. It sounds like he has a lot to do with like the play design and how this offense is structured. And that's something he didn't have in Seattle for years. And so even if Hackett's a bust as a coach, if Russell Wilson is pretty much designing the offense to what he likes and caters to his wants, he's going to put up points because he's still a really, really, really fucking good quarterback. Last year, he was quarterback 13 in points per game, and he was hurt, like with a finger injury, not like just like a hurt rib, but something on his throwing arm. So Russell Wilson's a guy that I actually really like at cost.
Yeah.
And I'm fading Josh Allen just because I don't want to. If I can wait around to get Lamar, I'm just not going to get Josh Allen. Like the Lamar has more upside than Josh Allen does, and that's kind of crazy to say, but it's just true.
Yeah.
Lamar could, if Lamar had a really good rushing year, he could probably hit 1,400 rushing yards. That would be ridiculous.
Oh, I think he's just here's the deal is I think these quarterbacks, and rightfully so, he's gone out there, he's been the MVP, he's dragged that team to the playoffs countless years. He's the entire offense outside of Mark Andrews. I mean, fuck. They don't have receivers. They barely have a running game. He's done things. They let him play out his rookie contract. Fuckers like Patrick Mahomes got paid the second he could get paid. I think it's personal at this point.
Yeah.
And he's just the kind of guy to go out there and have – I mean, here's the deal. 16, 17 weeks from now, if we're talking about Lamar Jackson as the quarterback one, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
I think he's a front runner for the MVP, at least for me. For another one, his second one. He's already won one. All right, yep. Second round of guys, and I'll start this one out. I have Tom Brady, 10th quarterback off the board at pick 88, so the 8th round. Dak Prescott, 11th quarterback off the board at pick 91, also in the 8th round. Or Matthew Stafford, 12th quarterback off the board, going at pick 106. For me, I'm going to draft Matthew Stafford just because he's the one I can get the latest. I really think Dak, Tom, and Matt Stafford are just neck and neck. They're essentially going to be like the same fantasy quarterback. Brady has the best upside. However, I don't know if a 45-year-old Brady is going to be all that engaged. And I think that we've really yet to see. And say there's a few injuries that happen, like Godwin gets re-injured, Julio gets hurt, Lyman gets hurt. We might really see a breakdown in the Tampa Bay thing with Brady. So he is aging.
Their offensive line has been through hell already.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They're not in the greatest shape. So Matthew Stafford is my draft. My hold is Dak Prescott. I think he's going to be good, even though Tyron Smith is going to be out until December. I still think Dak's going to put up numbers. We've seen him produce in really shitty situations before. The defense is bad again, which is good for him. They're going to get in shootouts, and we've seen what shootout Dak does. And then my fade is Tom Brady for the reasons I said. A 45-year-old Brady, as much as I love him, we all see the flag in the back and my beanie. As much as I love Brady, he's getting up there in age, and people's interests start to change as they age. And you just don't know if he might really be losing interest in football.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you pretty wholeheartedly. At value, I'm going to take Stafford. Stafford is, I've always been a Stafford fan. Even in Detroit, I rostered him a lot of years. He's the most talented physically, I think, out of the three of them. Last year, we saw a little bit of turn up with interceptions and stuff, but I think, truthfully, he's the best quarterback that you can get out of that bunch at value. Dak Prescott, I'm going to hold just because he has a lead upside. They're always in an offense where he produces. And for me, I'm going to fade Tom Brady for the reasons you just said. He's 45 years old. I don't know how much he's really in it at this point. That offensive line has been through hell because their center got injured, and then I think their backup center's out for the year too. They lost some pieces. I know one of the guys went to Cincinnati. Good for Joe Burrow, but that offensive line's in shambles. Godwin may or may not play early on. They got Julio, which is a sneaky play. I like that, but overall, I was seeing this guy go top 8 in the Superflex drafts, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You're talking about Tom Brady or Jalen Hurts. That's kind of the range you're talking about there. And for me, I'd take Jalen Hurts every time just because of upside. But, I'm in agreement with you on that. I think Stafford's the one to have. I think he's going to be a little more pricey than 106, but we'll see.
Yeah, I I like all three, honestly. That's kind of the range of quarterback I like to look at. My preference would probably be trying to get like Lamar or Hurts, but if you end up with any of those three, I'm not necessarily like upset. Next three, I have running back bundle. I have Jonathan Taylor, pick one RB1, 101 pretty much every draft. I have Christian McCaffrey, pick 2 second running back off the board. And then last, I have Dalvin Cook, 5th running back off the board at pick 9. Where are you going with this one?
Oh, man, that's a tough one, dude. I think I like draft JT. I'm gonna hold on Cook, and I'm gonna fade Christian McCaffrey, and here's why. Jonathan Taylor, that whole offense runs through Jonathan Taylor. I think now I know everybody, the normies out there, are gonna say, he had one of the lowest producing RB1 seasons, almost ever. I don't give a shit. He is one of the guys that gets almost entirely the workload, and that's rare to see in the NFL anymore. Because you even see, guys like Dalvin Cook, which Dalvin Cook's going to be my hold. He even gets spelled in with Madison sometimes. I mean, JT pretty much carries the rock all the time, and I love that. I think he has the highest floor out of the three of them. I'm going to hold Dalvin Cook because I do believe that the Vikings offense is going to be a hell of a lot better. I think they really take the step. I think Dalvin Cook's a guy that we're going to talk about in, top 3 at the end of the year. I love his upside. I like that he's getting involved in the receiving game. There's a lot of good things going for Dalvin Cook. Fade Christian McCaffrey. I trust me, I love to watch McCaffrey. He is a game changer when he plays, but it's just been so rarely over the last few years that it's almost forgettable at this point, right? I mean, his destroy the league season was a couple of years ago at this point. He played last year. What did he average? 28 points a game or something crazy like that. He's unstoppable when he's out there. I think the quarterback play is elevated, but here's my thing: how long is he going to be out there? For me, if I'm picking, if he's the second pick in the draft and that's me, it would be hard for me because I would sit there and wonder, when am I going to get that notification that he fucked himself up again?
Yeah, I agree. I'm out. My board's the same. I agree on McCaffrey. He's my fade. My draft would actually be Dalvin Cook.
The value.
We'll start here, I guess. Frank Reich has been very vocal that he wants to shift the dynamics of how the Colts play a little bit with Matt Ryan. He doesn't want to be so run heavy. He doesn't want to have Jonathan Taylor out there quite as much. And Nyheim Hines is a actually really good NFL running back. It's not like he's a scrub. So I think that Jonathan Taylor at the first pick, he's going to be an RB1, right? But if he only scores 9 touchdowns and 1,500 yards, you're probably looking at like a Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb type finish, not 101 finish. Dalvin Cook in the new offense with Kevin O'Connell as the head coach is going to feast. He's going to play in the pass game more. He had a bad year on touchdowns last year with 6. Super down year for him. And he finished as the RB9 in PPR points per game still. I think Cook's going to be an absolute monster. And you're getting him in the back end of the first round. That's excellent value. McCaffrey's my fade because he's just damaged goods. I don't want to risk in the first round. I don't want to risk that. I want a guy who's going to play at least 12 games.
Now, if you could mess around, get him at the end of the first, beginning of the second, I'd break my fucking finger hitting draft on that. But yeah, you're talking 102. That's a tough call.
All right, next set of players. I have DeAndre Swift going at going as the 9th running back at pick 16, so second round. I have Alvin Kamara, 10th running back off the board at pick 17. And then Aaron Jones, the 11th running back off the board at pick 18. So 3 second-round running backs, Swift, Kamara, Jones. I'll take this one. I'm going to go ahead and draft Alvin Kamara. Last year was kind of a down year for Alvin, and he was still RB4 in PPR points per game. I think the offense has improved. I think that we're going to see the pass game usage go back to normal. I think Jameis is a legitimate NFL quarterback, and people sleep on him. All these pieces being raised up is going to help Kamara. It's going to give him space. They're not just going to have to let him run 200, 250 times and go back to how he was being used. Kamara is one of the best backs in the league, and if you're getting him down at RB10, that's an absolute steal. Second round Kamara is something that I want. Hold, probably going to be Aaron Jones. I think his pass game work this year is going to be exceptional. I think that he's going to be the main weapon outside of Allen Lazard in the pass game. I think Rodgers is going to use him heavily. These veteran quarterbacks are smart. They know when the check down is the best option, and when that's what's going to get them the most yards. Rodgers is going to be able to process that. So Jones is my hold at RB11. And surprisingly, my fade is DeAndre Swift. And honestly, it just comes down to Kamara and Jones having a little bit of a higher upside. I love Swift. There's a little bit of like an injury thing there. I'm not super worried about it. But the Lions offense could end up being pretty bad. Touchdown upside just might not be there. Jamal Williams is there, and he is going to play. So I like Swift, but I'd rather have Kamara and Jones.
Yeah, for me, man, I'm going to have to go with draft Aaron Jones. I think he has a very real upside. I think he's kind of someone people forgot about. For me, like you said, I think he's going to be the second most targeted person on that team. I think he's going to get just a nasty amount of receiving work, which is going to put him into that conversation for me. I think he ends up being a low-end RB1, high-end RB2 kind of category. I'm going to go ahead and hold on Swift just because I think his potential is like through the roof. You're right. There is some concerns there with injuries. The Lions offense, that's more of just a boomer bust play for me. And it's hard to say it, but I'm going to go fade Alvin Kamara, and it's nothing against Kamara. It's just the other two options were so good. I actually fucked around in Scott Fishbowl, and I thought the guy was already suspended for 4 games. I thought that was already a done deal. I don't know why I thought that. I read it somewhere, and clearly it wasn't true. And that dude fell way far, and I was just not having it. And then the draft concluded, and I saw something that popped up that said his suspension may be next year, and I was like, what the fuck? I did not know that, and I feel like a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Like he went in like the 8th or 9th round in this draft, and I was like, what?
Yeah, I feel dumb. I didn't get a lot of Alvin Kamara while that was up in the air, and I'm pissed because I should have.
I thought it was a done deal.
To me, honestly,
he beat the shit out of that guy, didn't he?
Yeah, he did beat the shit out of that guy. All right, next 3, all rookies, real fast. Dameon Pierce, RB27, pick 82, so the 7th round. James Cook, 35th running back off the board at pick 102, the 9th round. Or Kenneth Walker, RB39, pick 115 in the 10th round. Where are we going with this?
Here's the thing for me. I'm going to go ahead and draft Dameon Pierce. Here's why. Over the last probably week, he was considered like RB30 something. That stock has risen because of his preseason play. I love the player. He's not. Here's the thing. He is going to get an elite amount of carries, right? I think he gets an opportunity is everything in fantasy football. I think his opportunity is going to be out of this world. I love him, especially even as high as round 7. 2 weeks ago, you could have got him 8, 9, 10. That's fine. But I love the player, hard-nosed football player. I watched him in the preseason game the other day, and that dude, I love it. He'll just lower the fucking shoulder and just, I mean, he'll go get it. For me, I'm going to hold. Huh?
Would you trade a first-round pick in Dynasty for Dameon Pierce?
No, probably not.
Good. Okay. I wanted to see where you were with that. I agree. I would not either.
I would trade a second in a heartbeat.
Yeah. You could flip him for that after the season, for that, at the very least. Okay, continue. Sorry, I just wanted to.
I'm big on Dameon Pierce. I have been. Cook, I'm going to go ahead and hold. I love Cook. I think even in his rookie year, I can't believe we're having the conversation about him and Singletary. Singletary's a fucking bum. And I don't understand how he's still on a roster, let alone the starter. But it's all a matter of time. Cook's going to take over, but I think he has a Nyheim Hines type role this year. I think he has standalone fantasy value, and I think it's only a matter of time before Devin Singletary fucks up and James Cook's in there for good. I think if I had to go over under on 4 games for that, I'm going to go under. That's just my opinion. I am a big James Cook fan. I'm going to fade Walker altogether because here's the deal. He's hurt 1. 2, Rashad Penny was the RB1 through like the last 6 weeks of last year. The guy can play. His health is a concern, but when he's out there, he's finally figured it out. I mean, the guy was a first-round pick. He's finally figured it out. They re-signed him. Clearly, they think he's got potential. Be it on a 1-year deal, but for this season that we're talking about right now, I think he has definitely. I would rather have Rashad Penny than Kenneth Walker, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement on that. Mine, I have to agree on all 3. I think Pierce is my draft just because the upside's there. Cook, if I knew Cook would get 50% of the touches, he'd be my draft, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. And then Kenneth Walker, he's been hurt in camp. We know Carroll's going to go with the guy he trusts. Like, he does not give a shit about sitting Walker for a whole season. Doesn't matter to Pete Carroll. So, in fact, Pete Carroll might play quarterback this year.
Might have to.
All right, next
Might
group.
have to.
We got some top-end wide receivers. I have Justin Jefferson, first wide receiver off the board at pick 3. Cooper Kupp, second wide receiver off the board at pick 4. And then Jamar Chase, third wide receiver off the board at pick 5. Actually, it's going to go in that order. My draft's Justin Jefferson. He's my wide receiver 1 on the year. Floor, his floor is top 5 fantasy production, and his ceiling is a dominant wide receiver 1 ceiling. Cooper Kupp, I think his production, I'm not sure if he's going to replicate what he did last year, but I think he's a lock as a top 6 wide receiver. I do think Allen Robinson being there will at least eat into a little bit of what he had. However, Cooper Kupp's still going to be a top 6 wide receiver. In PPR formats, I'd boost him up a little higher even. Not above Justin Jefferson, but just in terms of where I think he'd finish. Last, my fade is Jamar Chase. I like Jamar Chase, but I just don't think he has the ceiling that a Jefferson or a Kupp has. I think that Higgins and Boyd being there, it doesn't limit him, but he's just it caps how many targets he's going to see.
Yeah, no, I'm with that top to bottom. I love Justin Jefferson, right? Like I'm pretty firm in my thoughts of it's got to be a damn good wide receiver for me to go, especially in the top 6, at a wide receiver. But Justin Jefferson would definitely be that guy. If he's not the wide receiver 1 overall, I'd be real surprised. There's got to be something magical. I think he's got all the potential in the world. For me, I'm going to hold on Kupp. and I think you're exactly right. I think the addition of Allen Robinson is going to limit him to some degree to where he doesn't repeat that season. Jamar Chase, I'm going to fade at that price just because here's the deal. He kind of took the league by storm last year. Everybody's got a year of tape on this guy now. I think it's going to be a different scenario. I don't think we see him repeat the season he had last year. He's a big deep ball guy, and I think teams pay a little bit better attention after seeing how he tore the league up last year. Cup, I just think is just a smart football player. If you ever listen to like his post game interviews, the guy is electric. I mean, he knows ball probably better than most people. So yeah, it's going to go exactly in that order.
Yeah, I just think that's Jamar Chase. I really don't like him that much. I have him in one league, but I got him at the 111, and I did like that. But early in the first, I don't know how much I like him. All right, next group, another group of wide receivers. I have DK Metcalf, 29th wide receiver off the board at pick 58, so late fifth. Michael Thomas, wide receiver 30, going at pick 59, so also in the fifth. And then Juju Smith-Schuster going wide receiver 24, pick 46, so in the fourth round.
So here's where I'm going to go with this. I'm going to draft Michael Thomas, and here's why. He's had a couple injury-plagued seasons. I think he takes a step back. But at that value, I think you have a potential wide receiver one because here's the deal. Yes, he lost Drew Brees, but Jameis Winston's a fucking gunslinger too. He'll go out there and do some great things. Especially when you're getting him the latest of all of these. I think he's got a very real potential to slip into a low-end wide receiver one kind of conversation. I'm going to hold on Juju. I'm a big Juju fan this year. Fourth round is a little high. But I do believe he's going to be Mahomes' favorite target. I think he's the best receiver on that team, and I think the connection's, building over time. I've got a couple Juju shares that I'm not mad about. I'm going to go ahead and fade DK, and here's the deal. I do like DK as a receiver. I just think Geno Smith, Drew Lock, Pete Carroll, whoever's playing quarterback in that offense, it's obviously going to be a major downgrade. And I know he still had some success with Geno Smith last year. I think he's going to continue to be a wide receiver too, that kind of conversation. But he's very limited due to his teammates. The offensive line got a hell of a lot worse. The Seahawks really, if they're not picking first in the draft next year, I'd be real surprised. So that's it for me. I mean, I like Michael Thomas the most out of those.
Yeah, I think I like Michael Thomas the best too. Do you think Michael Thomas could put up a top 12 finish this year?
I think he can. I really do. I think he in PPR. I think in PPR he could put up top 12 just because he just churns them out. If he's truly healthy and he's truly going into this season healthy, you can call him slant boy all you want, but slant routes make fantasy points too. So I'm in.
Hey, Michael Thomas is cold. I had looked at his yearly finishes, and I mean, it's like
insane.
First, third, first. Granted, this is PPR, but like this dude's a fucking monster. And Jameis is good. Jameis is smart. Like, there's a huge difference if I'm having fantasy assets in an offense, like a huge difference from Daniel Jones to a Jameis Winston. Jameis will help those guys produce. Daniel Jones will hinder everyone from producing.
There's a difference, yeah.
So, Michael Thomas would be my draft. I just talked about why. I think he could also put in like a low-end wide receiver one season if everything goes right. My hold, I'm going to hold DK Metcalf. I think he's pretty firm as like a wide receiver 18 to 24 this year. I don't think he's going to catch 12 touchdowns like last year. However, I do think Geno Smith is going to look to him more often than Tyler Lockett. If I'm a bad quarterback, I'd rather throw to the 6'4" athlete over like the 5'11", 5'10" Tyler Lockett over on the other side. So
Right.
my fade going to be Juju. I just have wide receiver 24. And then
That's a
think
high
about
price.
regionally, like if you drafted in Kansas with Chief fans, he's probably going to go like wide receiver 18 or 19. That's entirely too high for me for a guy who I'm not sure. I think he's going to be a top 36 wide receiver, but I don't think it's a lock that he's a top 30. And that's where he's the one that I think has the lowest floor and a pretty low ceiling, where Michael Thomas has an uber high ceiling, DK Metcalf has an uber high ceiling. Chiefs offense is going to be very spread out this year.
Here's one thing for everybody that listens. Everything's relative to value, right? Where you value somebody. You got to know, we talk about knowing your league makes, and you just said it, know your demographic too. Know that if you're in Dallas, Texas, not Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb's going to go way fucking higher than he should just because there's a fanboy in there. Know your league mates, know what's going to happen, because that can also help you be in a better position to get some real value. In our league, we have a fucking lot of Chiefs fans. So exactly what you just said. Juju's going to go way higher than he should. Mahomes is going to go way higher than he should. Someone's going to bite on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, even though they shouldn't. Way higher than he should, just because they're like, oh, yeah, he's the guy, whatever. It's okay to be a fan. Don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say.
All right. I have another set of rookies here. Drake London, 36th wide receiver off the board at pick 72, so the 6th round. Chris Olave, 43rd wide receiver off the board at pick 87, the 8th round. Or Sky Moore, wide receiver 44 off the board, pick 90, also in the 8th round. For me, I'm drafting Chris Olave. I think Olave is going to have a top 40 season. Again, he's Jameis Winston's deep threat. Jameis is very much a fuck it, someone's down there guy, especially when they're down. And Olave is going to be the beneficiary. That man has 4.3 speed. And I think that the Saints offense isn't going to change much. Pete Carmichael's been there for 14, 13, 12 years now. He's still there. Dennis Allen's been there since 2013, 2012. Like, these guys, nothing's changing in this offense. Like super, 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 super differently, other than the fact that Peyton's not calling the plays. So Olave is my draft. My hold is going to be Drake London. I don't think I'd pick him that high. However, the talent level is there for him to put in a top 36 season. Like, as a player, I love Drake London. If Matt Ryan were still on that team with London and Pitts, I think he would put in a top 15 quarterback season, because both of those guys are so good. But with Mariota on the field playing quarterback, I just don't know. But talent level's definitely there. And my fade, Sky Moore. Going back to the Juju thing, like, Sky Moore is going to be at least the 3rd wide receiver in the offense. He might be the 4th. He might be the 5th. And we've seen with the Chiefs, really, they've only had 2 pass catchers that are productive at any point, which was Kelsey and Hill, and that was it. I think this year you'll see like Juju, MVS, Kelsey, and then Sky Moore all be top 72 options, but I don't think any of them but Kelsey are going to be truly elite, or in Sky Moore's case, put in a top 50 finish.
Right. Yeah, for me, I think I'm going to pivot it a little bit. My draft's definitely Olave. I agree with you for all the same reasons. I think Jameis needs that guy. I think Jameis needs a guy that can burn everybody and be down there somewhere, because right now, Michael Thomas really isn't that guy. Jarvis Landry really isn't that guy. And I think he's going to benefit from that. Especially at the value. My hold is going to be Sky Moore. and it's truly because I think Drake London's going way too goddamn high. 6th round for a rookie that's on a bad offense that already has injury concerns. That's the reason I'm going to fade Drake London. There's a lot of reasons I'd fade Drake London, really. He's got some semi-severe injury that I can't think of off the top of my head, but I do remember reading
last year, and his knee's hurt right now.
Yeah. So that's just all spelling up to bad. 6th round, I need a contributor. 8th round, I can throw a dart, and Olave makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, I think that Olave actually is he's probably my favorite rookie. He's my rookie wide receiver 1 in the spot really.
Right.
All right, last one. I have a group of tight ends. I have Dalton Schultz, 6th tight end off the board at pick 71, so in the 6th round. Dallas Goedert, 7th tight end off the board at pick 89, so the 8th round, or Zach Ertz, the 10th tight end off the board at pick 110, so the 10th round. Where are we going with this?
Ooh, man, that's a tough one because that's right in that sweet spot of tight ends that I was telling everybody about. I like all three. I really don't think you could go wrong with any of the three of them. For me, I'm going to draft Schultz because I think he has just as much upside as any of the top tier guys. He's going to be a focal point in that offense. There's a lot of vacated targets from Amari Cooper that just equals good things for him. I'm going to hold on Ertz, and here's why. He looked like a guy that was done in the league. All of a sudden, he gets traded to Arizona, and he ends up tied in 5-6, somewhere in that range. I like the value, 10th round. I mean, we're talking about nickels and dimes here, right? I think he ultimately returns value on that, especially while DeAndre Hopkins is out. Goddard, I'm going to go with fade, and it's just because one of those things where I think the other two options are so good, especially at value. 6th round for Schultz is a little high, but it's something I wouldn't hate doing. Goddard's one of those guys, man. I've never really he's been like a perennial hype type of guy that I've never really understood. I know he's got potential. I know he's a good physical specimen, but here's the deal: is he's never really produced at that insane level. Like he's shown it in flashes, especially while Ertz was in Philly and Ertz was out, he had good games, but I think everybody kind of drafts him on a hypothetical note, like one of those where, he can do this. It doesn't mean he always does do this type of thing. There's a lot of consistency issues for
me. Yeah, I'm going to go pretty much same as what you're doing. Dalton Schultz is my draft. I think he's a locked-in top 5 tight end, and he's not going to be the tight end 1, but he could be the tight end 2. I think he finishes above Kyle Pitts. Bookmark it, not even close. I think Schultz finishes over Kyle Pitts this year. Hold would be Ertz. I feel like Ertz has a solid floor in that Arizona offense. I think they're going to use him a lot, especially while Hopkins is out. So Ertz is going to be a guy who, I would not mind targeting in the 10th round. And then my fade is Goddard for the same reasons. Honestly, I'm not even high on the Philly passing out. I'm not high on A.J. Brown in our keeper league. He's on my team. I'm not keeping him. I'd rather have Javonte Williams. Goddard's a guy who I hypothetically like, but I just don't think the upside's there. I'm sure he'll be a top 12 tight end, but I don't think he's going to be a top 5 tight end.
I think there's a weird tier 1A group of tight ends that I just really don't like. I think Goddard's in that category. I like Hawkinson over Goddard, but not by much. He's another one of those that we talk about a lot, but I've just never really seen a whole lot out of. I mean, he's got flashes too. There's a weird second tier of tight ends that I'm not really sure I'm in love with, but in that second tier of tight ends, Schultz is definitely the guy that I want a lot of, and a lot of it's, you know, they're gonna throw that fucking ball, and Cooper's gone. CeeDee Lamb can't have 700 targets next year, so I'm gonna go to somebody.
Yep. So we're gonna end it at this. I have one last thing, and we're out of here unless you have anything else. Do you think trading Davante Adams for a 23 and a 24 first is a good or bad trade, and why?
So let's put it into context. This is a debate I've heard a lot about today. Trade went down in our dynasty league. Davante Adams for a 23 first and a 24 first. Here's my take. The guy that traded for him was definitely in need of receiver. Definitely, I think his third starting receiver was Sammy Watkins last I looked. He's got an aging Adam Thielen. I think he has A.J. Brown too. So not bad options, but I mean, you can't roll out every week with Sammy Watkins because we all know he's not good after week one, right? Week one, Sammy Watkins is elite. You could drop him after that. We've seen it year and year again. I like the trade for him just because his league, his position, I feel like in our dynasty league is, if you're at the middle of the pack, I think he's kind of a higher end middle of the pack guy. To me, that puts him in a better position to win. And it's really weird because he traded it to the guy that won the league last year just fucking barely because I didn't start Braxton Berrios. I'll make that comment on air just so everybody knows. If I would have started Braxton Berrios, I'd have won that dynasty league, but that's beside the point. I don't hate it. I don't love it personally. For me, if it was a first and a second, I would have done it in a heartbeat. That's where I'm at.
You know, his team, looking at it, Josh Allen, Hunt Connor, Brown, Thielen, Adams, Ertz, Jones, Godwin, Trubisky. Probably needs a third. Well, Baker Mayfield's on the bench. That's a contending team in a 12-team league. Now,
I agree.
Now, is it my team in that league? No, it's not. However, that's a contending team. So
here's the deal: shit can go real weird. I mean, honestly, so I ended up in the finals of this league last year, and I truthfully, like, going back looking at it, I feel like I probably had the fourth best team in the league at that point, especially. Some shit happened. I beat some people I shouldn't have. I was in the finals. Like, a lot of things could happen, especially in playoff football. Playoff fantasy football. So, in my opinion, if you've got a top 6 team in the league, anything can fucking happen. Like, we sit here crunch numbers all day. It doesn't go to say that something magical couldn't happen. And I ended up in the finals, and I almost fucking won the finals of this thing. I think I lost by 8 points or something. Like, it was well within reach. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it. It's a contending team. Had a need at wide receiver. High-ish price to pay, but I see why he did it.
Travis Kelce in this league went for the same package. And no one cared. The exact same package. So this trade had one person really up in arms. And I just don't. I had to debate with him about them. Not even debate, just be like, dude, just shut up.
Well, yeah, so here's the deal. Dynasty all goes down to how you value draft picks. Some people value them a lot. Some people don't give a shit. My personal stance on it, if I got to throw in a third or a fourth to make something happen, every fucking day of the week. I don't think a third or a fourth round pick is going to return value 98% of the time. First and second, I might think a little bit more about, but if it's the right deal, man, I'm going to fucking do it. So I guess I'm going to say I'm one of those guys that value them a little less. Now this year, specifically in our rookie draft, I had no first round picks because I traded it for ETN last year, which I love that. Love that to this day. But I ended up making some moves, making some trades, and got 2 picks in the first round because I knew I was fucked at receiver. I took George Pickens and Jameson Williams, and I love that. But I love that like 3 or 4 years down the line. Right now, that does not a whole lot. George Pickens might do some work this year. Jameson Williams going to be hurt. 3 or 4 years down the line, I might have a good pair of receivers. But it's a gamble, dude. It is. You don't really know. You're really throwing darts, and I think that's the way a lot of people see it. But yeah, in that deal, I don't hate it because who's to say that guy doesn't go out there and pick 2 duds, and then the other person who traded for Davante Adams looks like a fucking genius.
Yeah, that's exactly, like, personally, I'm the same as you. I value them depending on the class, but if I can get like, I traded my 101, 201, 301 this year for Russell Wilson, CeeDee Lamb, Allen Lazard, and 2 other players. Like, I'm gonna do that every time because I know what I'm getting. Like, I know CeeDee Lamb's gonna be a top 5 wide receiver. I know Russell Wilson's a top 12 quarterback. And then you can trade those guys. Like, if you feel like a Derrick Henry starting to age and you gave up picks, go try to recoup some fucking picks. It's not that big of a deal. And I think people aren't active enough sometimes in dynasty leagues. It's not like redraft. Your team in a dynasty league should not look the same at the end of the year. You're doing something.
You gotta err as much on youth as you do talent. And I think that's really it. Like, you can have this particular team that traded Davante Adams, I feel like's a lot older than a lot of us. Like, for instance, in that league, my running backs are Jonathan Taylor, ETN, and Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette's really the oldest one of the bunch, but still not like propping up outside the stadium old. You got to have that good mix. I mean, you can't be a team that is specifically going to only win this year and then you're fucked, because you got to have something to build on afterwards. And I think that's what I really like about Dynasty is it's a year-round thing. I mean, I'll send a fucking trade offer in April if I'm, you know what I mean, if I'm thinking something, or if I'm trying to pivot something or make a trade, and you know what I mean. It's got year-round longevity.
Yeah, I think our league mates hate me because I send a lot of trades. A lot of trades. But
I got one that might work out, but we're still waiting to see.
Yeah, I had a pretty good one recently, but anything else we want to hit before we go?
That's all I got, buddy.
Sweet. We will see you guys
next week.
Maybe on Friday. Football's almost back.
Oh, yeah.
Football's almost back. I will tweet out what we're doing. We will tweet about it. But all right, guys, thank you for listening.